Hello, welcome to the Scientific Writing Sessions podcast. I'm Sophie, a scientific writing mentor at Lancaster University's Learning Development team. In this podcast, I will talk to fellow mentors, students and academics about common writing problems and how to overcome them. We will also cover writing tips and tricks, good writing practices, and common writing fears. Our podcast aims to show how writing is a creative and lifelong and personal process for everyone. And today I'm really happy to have Beth Caldwell on our podcast today, who is one of the, founders of the Scientific Writing Centre. And I'm sure she has a lot of wisdom and interesting insights to share with us. So yes, I'd like to just get going, I guess. And hi, Beth.
Hi, hello.
Nice to have you on.
Thank you.
So Beth, what's your favourite writing setup, would you say, if you to get in the zone?
So I'm one of these strange people. I can work pretty much anywhere. I just obviously need a laptop of some sort, but I don't need, a lot of screens or, a special chair or anything. I just get on with it, really. It's more getting the internal stuff sorted than any specific kit.
Yeah. Okay. So you could write in a busy place, or is it sort of...
Definitely prefer quiet, definitely. Okay. But yeah, I if I have to, I could work on the train or in the train station if I really had to.
Okay. And when you said about the internal stuff, is that sort of knowing what to write, or is it a bit more like getting your thoughts in order?
I think it's sort of feeling positive about the project.
Yeah.
I know when I was trying to write my PhD thesis, I'd got really exhausted and a bit fed up with my project. Yeah. And so the writing was really challenging because, you're sort of stuck with writing about something which, you've sort of fallen out of love with for, and you've got to do that for months and months and months. So I think if I feel sort of passionate about what I'm writing about, then the rest just slots into place.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's also interesting that obviously you won't feel passionate about it all the time, will you, I suppose? So it's kind of definitely an up and down process. Or did you find that?
Yeah, definitely. I think lots of people when they're doing their PhDs, you're just exhausted. You've already worked for several years on the project and now you have to write about it at great length. And so, for me, I was just a bit burnt out perhaps. Yeah. And I think, you're kind of in a hurry to get it done. And that combination can make it quite difficult to actually put pen to paper or get some words out on the screen.
Yeah. And what was your PhD thesis on? What did you write?
So it was in genetics. It was quite a long time ago.
Okay.
But basically I was looking at evidence for dietary adaptation in human sort of genes.
Right.
I did 3 years in the lab and then I wrote up for best part of a year after that.
And looking back on it now, would you say it was overall good, or how?
So I did the classic mistake I made, which was not to do much writing whilst I was doing my lab work. Right, and that's a classic mistake, which meant that by the time I sat down to write my thesis, with all the pressure of just wanting to get it done, I hadn't written much for several years. So I had to kind of remember what it was all about, get over being rusty, get back into the kind of swing of it, get that momentum going again. So that classic rookie error, basically.
A lot of people do.
There's so much of other absorbing stuff. There's with your data collection and statistics and all these other things, field trips, conferences, and all the other things you accumulate along the way. And then so it's quite a different phase. And I think that transition into sitting on your own at a laptop day in, day out, it's really different to perhaps, the bits of the PhD that are a bit more kind of active and, doing other bits and pieces, really. So
I guess there's that big transition from the lab to writing. Was there anything how did you find that? How did you motivate yourself? Was there any kind of things that really helped or didn't help, maybe?
So, I think I think I was quite aware at the time that the writing wasn't coming as I expected it to. And I kind of looked into writing in general, which is quite strange as a scientist. It's not something you normally spend much time thinking about. You do assume it's just going to happen when the time comes. And so I kind of started looking into writing as a practice. And I actually kind of looked into what creative writers do, people trying to write novels, because there's loads on that. I mean, lots of people try to write novels. And I was really interested in what successful writers do, people who produce, multiple novels, and that is essentially their day job. I wanted to know, how did they do it? Because I felt like that's what I was sort of having to do. I'd gone home to live with my family, and I was literally sitting in my bedroom trying to write. So I thought, having spent all this time doing kind of lab-based stuff, I suddenly felt like I probably had more to learn from creative writers, really.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just sort of looked into it, and somewhere I stumbled on this bit of advice, which is to just write something. It doesn't have to be the thing you're trying to write, just write. And so I thought, okay, I'll try that. And again, as a good scientist, I was like, right, what we're going to do is we're going to test the situation. Is it the words that are the problem, or is it what I'm writing about, which is the problem? And so I thought, right, I'll try writing something completely different. So I sat down and tried to write a novel, and I wrote, quite a lot of a novel, instead of trying to do my PhD. And at that point, I realized it wasn't the words. It wasn't that I was having trouble creating sentences, and, it wasn't problems with English. The issue was that I was really, I was really burnt out from the actual PhD, and that even thinking about that was just making me, not putting me in that frame of mind to sort of write. Yeah. And that was actually really useful, because I felt like, okay, it's not the sentences that are a problem. So that means we just got to tackle the PhD. We've got to somehow, get the mojo back on that side. So that was kind of useful.
That's really interesting. So, a lot of people think, oh, I can't write, I just can't do it. But it's interesting that you separated that to kind of identify that you could write. Is that what you were writing about was causing the block?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's a lot, perhaps more emotions to do with writing than perhaps we give ourselves credit for, particularly scientific writing, and that actually how you're feeling about your project or how it's going. Again, classic situation, my project had gone well, but I didn't have significant results, which meant that, that's a bit depressing.
Yeah.
So, lots of other things that, the project itself had gone, relatively well, but right towards the end, you realise that this thing that you hope to really share with the world is actually going to be a little bit more difficult to communicate. And so it's kind of all those emotions, they are tied up with how productive you can be with writing. So for me, it was useful to just try and spend a bit of time sorting out what was going on there.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves, or we haven't written that much today, or what I've written is awful. But it's interesting, there's so much emotions, and it's very layered, isn't it? So spending some time thinking about what is really going on here could possibly benefit you, right? And how did you find your mojo with kind of communicating your difficult PhD results? Do you remember?
I just decided to kind of just take it step by step, and just so I was really lucky. I had a friend who finished their PhD a couple of years before me in the same lab, and they'd shared their thesis with me, and I just had a look at it, and I thought, okay, this first section, I can do that. This is just, I can do that. And I literally just took it, section by section, and just did each bit and put each brick in the wall, and just kind of, just took it step by step, basically. And then eventually get to the point where you have enough that the mojo just generally, you think, oh, well, I'm nearly there now, so I can manage this,
And what point did you sort of, you must have thought many times throughout, what am I doing if these results aren't that significant? But Was it quite close to your deadline that you were like, I can do this?
Oh, that's a good question, because it was it was quite a while ago. Yeah, I mean, obviously the deadline helps as well. I mean, you have to really get going. I mean, that, you know, there were, as usual, there's some sort of complications to do with finishing some analysis and things like that. So again, it was kind of that realization that there were still bits you can write, even though there are things that aren't finished. So again, it's just picking off the low-hanging fruits and just write what you can write. And then again, just that feeling of once you've got, you know, once you're over halfway, or once you've got kind of quite a lot there, it's downhill, then you can just finish it off. So
I suppose it's a key message of just keep going.
One foot in front of the other. Exactly. Definitely.
Do you have a preferred drink for your best writing, and why?
So for my very, very best, most inspired writing is probably green tea. So a few years ago, when my family were really sort of young, and I kind of didn't have much time, and I was very tired. Trying to write, you know, just once, you know, everyone's asleep and things like that. And and I had a paper to finish, and the reviewers had said to me that I had to be more kind of ambitious, and I had to like almost extend the theory a little bit. And I was really, this was very much out of my comfort zone, coming from a very sort of data-driven sort of background. I was like, I'm not really sure I'm the person to extend theory. So then, you know, one evening I was like, right, come on, you've got to do this. Spread all the bits of paper out on the floor, you know, thought, right, I better have, you know, a cup of tea to help me with this. And happened to have some random green tea bags at the back of the cupboard. And and I just, obviously it gave me enough energy to get it done. But then I did still manage to get to sleep afterwards. So, it was kind of just taking that sort of almost allowing yourself to kind of just think a little bit outside the box and just kind of think a bit differently from a bit of a different perspective before you try and write. So sometimes I find stepping away is the best thing you can do, really.
And you said you put papers on the floor. Is that something you've done often, or is it?
Not so much. I mean, I'm still quite old-fashioned. I like writing things down, and you know, if I've got a really key paper to read, I would print it out. Or maybe up until about a year ago, I would print it out and scribble on it and highlight it and all the rest of it. And so I'm still quite kind of bits of paper orientated, which means I do have things to actually spread out on the floor. But it's not normally my way of working. I wouldn't have said I'm quite tidy normally. So again, that's kind of just it allowed me to just think about things a bit differently, because I don't normally have things on the floor.
But that's true, because sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you just can't know where to go. It's very difficult. So I think even putting it out physically away from you, you can see it a bit more objectively. And I think that does help for me anyway. But
definitely. And I think one of the challenges of sort of modern writing is everything is just another window on your laptop. And even if you have several screens, it can be difficult to get that sort of overview. Even now, I mean, I think there are times where getting it physically out, you know, spreading papers out on the floor, or even cutting up bits of text, manuscripts, and really, you know, getting some sellotape out and sticking it back together. Sometimes can just really help when you can't see the wood for the trees.
Yeah, a bit like on a detective show when you've got the the bits of string between the pins. Yeah, and everything.
Exactly. Yeah, massive whiteboard, and it's kind of somehow getting it out of your head so you can see it from a different angle.
Yeah, what is it then? Like, do you like about research and writing? Is it getting to the bottom of things? Is there something that kind of makes you tick more?
So I think the research is getting to the bottom of things. There's a kind of a question that I really want to understand. And that's, I mean, it's quite personal understanding. I mean, obviously, if I can tell the world, that's, you know, even better. But, you know, it's a personal curiosity. And then writing, I really like the satisfaction of, when it all comes together. And I really like that sort of being able to, it's like a sort of a challenge. You've got this really massive topic that you've gone really deep into, and you've got to express it in 5,000 words in a paper in this very prescribed format. And if you can do that, it's very satisfying.
And then if people understand it, I suppose that's the,
So I really like spotting questions. That's one of my favorite things, to spot a question which no one else is doing, or a question which, when you sort of tell it to people, they're like, oh yeah, actually, we're really interested in that, or that's really important. And then I also like choosing the angle to write the paper about. So again, it's about kind of, which part do you present to the world first, or, and how do you do that? So I really enjoy that.
Are you still working in the genetics field now, or what sort of projects are you working on?
No, so obviously, genetics is certainly one aspect of genetics is very lab-based. And so I moved away from that, and I do now kind of collect it again, quite a eclectic mix of projects. So some to do with education and teaching and learning. Yeah. And then, other things that take my fancy, basically. Different questions. So, things that have sort of taken my interest, or conversations I've had with people, often kind of colleagues or friends who are kind of academics, and we've had a conversation. We're like, oh yeah, we should do something on this, and it kind of usually snowballs from there.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, yeah, why not? Yeah. It's the thing is, it's such a creative part of coming up with ideas, isn't there? And they don't just, I don't know, the polished, the thing at the end, the finished product is often just so much talking and thinking and stressing. And
Definitely. I mean, I much prefer working with people. It's quite lonely writing a paper on your own and having to do absolutely everything and be your own, editor and your own proofreader and come up with the ideas and write the sentences. I think when you work collaboratively, you can all take different roles depending on what your strengths are. Yeah. So some people are really good at coming up with, copious amounts of writing very, very quickly. Some people really enjoy the kind of literature side of it. I really like editing, and I'm a bit of a referencing geek as well. So I often work really well with somebody who can produce words very quickly. And then I sort of can, really sort of distill that down, and then, dot all the I's and cross all the T's and get it actually over the line. Lots of academics have many more ideas than they can possibly have time to write. So again, finding people where your skills kind of complement each other. And I know lots of people who have great ideas and even have great data, but don't have the time to write a paper. So again, just working together, or maybe sometimes you don't have the confidence to send the paper off. But again, if you work together, you can kind of sort of create that confidence. And I worked in publishing briefly after my PhD. So I always feel like, oh, you're just sending it to somebody in an office who, I mean, nowadays it's all some kind of computer system, but, it's not a scary thing, I think, because I worked, in that area.
Yeah, you know what the other side is like.
Yeah, exactly. It's just people sitting in an office writing emails. Yeah. It's just another email. Just happens to have a manuscript attached.
And out of curiosity, at what point did you realise you enjoyed proofreading? Was that something you knew when you were very young, or is it?
So actually, I don't enjoy proofreading. Okay, I'm just quite pedantic. I'm actually not very good at it. So when I was young, I was terrible at it. My essays at university were littered with errors.
Yeah.
But I happened to share a flat with 3 other students doing a really similar course. And they all wanted to be science journalists, and they had that kind of appreciation of writing, which I didn't. I mean, I just wanted to get stuff down on paper and, hand it in, jobs are good. Yeah. For me, it's about ideas, and the writing is just a, annoying thing you have to do. But they really taught me that, no, what words you put on paper is how the person on the receiving end receives that idea. And they used to read my essays and kind of come back with all sorts of scribbles and, what do you mean I don't understand this sentence? And I'd be like, what do you mean you don't understand the sentence? It's obvious. Yeah. And they were like, no, it's not. So that really taught me to slow down and write, and how, test it out. Does it make sense? Have I actually communicated what I'm trying to say? So that was a real eye-opener, just to learn about, about the craft and the skill of writing.
Yes, there's definitely an art to it, isn't
there?
Which you kind of don't really get told when you're younger.
No, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, so I've got some common queries that students have, and I wondered if we could get your advice on them, as you've got so much experience in advising students and working in the library. So one of the first problems we have is, where do I begin with an essay or a lab report? I'm totally overwhelmed with my essay. I don't know where to get started. And would you have any advice for anyone who might experience the same?
So I think back to what we were saying before, is just try and break it down into sort of bite-sized chunks. And the way to do that is to go back to the, whatever brief or guidance or instructions they've given you, and really try and deconstruct that into those, manageable chunks. So often, they often give you loads of advice, but I think in the panic of, oh my goodness, we've been given an essay, it's difficult to perhaps take all of that in. So go back to all that guidance and really, get the highlighter tool out and highlight, the important words, find out, what the marking criteria is going to be, the deadline, all those things. Yes. And just break it down. And then once you know what you've got to do, you can then decide, what order you're going to do it in.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, definitely also, familiarising yourself with what is actually the requirements of the essay is definitely one of the first things. But breaking it down.
Might not be as scary as you think.
Yeah. Sometimes it looks more scary than it is when you look at it properly. Excellent, thank you. And similarly, how would you advise someone to write an introduction?
So introductions are the thing I find the most difficult to write. I'm way too impatient. I just want to get on with it. So I find them really difficult to write. And when I'm working with students on their writing, they're probably the thing that we may spend the most time kind of talking about. There are lots of different ways to do it. You can just go for it. In the knowledge, you'll probably have to tweak it quite a lot later once you've actually written the essay. Or if the introduction is tricky or you just not feeling it, you can come back to it. Just start on the main bit of the essay and then write the introduction at the end. So people do it in different ways. Yeah. Either way, by the time you finish the essay, the introduction needs to match whatever you've written. And I think the thing to do is really think about the person on the receiving end. Really think, so those first few sentences are going to orientate them to what you're going to talk about. So you have to give them some, background information, some context. That's the part when I'm writing, I just kind of haven't got the patience for. I'm like, why do I need to write this down? But the person on the receiving end, they're new to the topic potentially, or they're curious as to, what this essay is going to be about. So you do have to provide that background. So a little bit of background to orientate the reader. And then, of course, you've got to convince your marker that you are going to do the essay they've set. So it's a really good idea to sort of echo or reiterate bits of the essay question. So once you've kind of given them the background, you can then sort of say, well, the aim of this essay is, and at that point, echo the question. And that really tells your marker you have read that question and hopefully you're going to deliver. And then it's quite conventional in sort of academic and scientific writing to kind of give the reader a bit of a heads up as to what's to come. So usually towards the end of the introduction, you might write a sentence just outlining the kind of main things that are going to happen in the rest of the essay.
Yeah, great. That's great advice. I think I like the reflection on patience. I think that it is one of the markers of a good researcher, I think, is patience, because there's so many frustrations, and even writing takes a long time. So I like that. Yeah.
Definitely.
And good advice too, overall. Another one is, with academic writing, it's often got to be quite to the point. So how would you make writing clear and succinct? Have you got any advice for that?
So this is a tricky one for me because I naturally write quite succinctly. So, it's not one I can perhaps use my own experience to answer really. But obviously I've met many, many, many students who write in a really different way. So perhaps people who write way over the word count just to get their ideas down on paper, just to kind of almost write to know what you think. So if that's the kind of writer you are, then it is obviously at some point you've got to get it down to the word count. There are a few things you can look out for. So best advice, go back to that assignment instructions or question and think really, be really strict with yourself. Is this relevant? Does this contribute? Does this help my reader understand what I'm trying to say? And in the first instance, if you're way over the word count, you want to be getting rid of whole paragraphs or whole chunks of your essay. It's not going to work to just take out the odd little word here and there. It's going to take you ages and you'll probably make your sentences a bit strange. So you look for things that are off topic, that have gone off on a tangent or that aren't quite relevant, or things where you've repeated yourself. So if you can find bits where you've written things in sort of several ways, choose the best one and get rid of the others. So try and get rid of the whole chunks if you can, and then be really strict with yourself about things that just add words but don't really add any meaning. So we sort of beat around the bush sometimes when we're not quite sure what we're trying to say, or we're not quite sure we understand what we're trying to say. So again, be really honest with yourself. Look at those bits of the essay where you kind of think, oh yeah, I didn't really understand that, but I'm trying my best. So again, revisit those bits and get to the bottom of it. And then hopefully you'll find that you can write it. Really good bit of advice from an author who's written quite a lot about scientific writing is write what you mean to say.
Okay.
So don't try and dress it up. Don't try and make it sound academic. Just write what you mean to say. State your results if that's what you're doing. Say what your conclusion is. Don't be afraid to do that. And I think that can really help you be succinct and to the point.
That's great. That's such good advice, because then you're really thinking, what do I mean to say?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Why am I writing this?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Thank you. Another question is, someone who doesn't think they're very good at academic writing, and what would you advise them in this case?
So I'll let you into a secret. Hardly anyone is good at academic writing. It's not something we're born with or really that we're taught in school. And you can be perfectly good at academic writing, even if you were terrible at English at school. So academic writing, it's just a skill. It's like anything else. It's, it's a bit like lots of things we learn, like how to drive or, other things. You just need to perhaps give yourself some time to sort of get better at it. And people then say, the next question is, what books should I read? Can you give me some, a reading list of how I can get better at academic writing? And actually, the best thing you can do is to just do some, is to do it. So try and tackle your assignments as early as you can to give you lots of time to go through them with a fine-tooth comb. And just like I was saying before about, I used to get my flatmates to read through my essays and give me feedback. That is the best thing. That's how you learn to write, is trying things out, seeing if it works on another person. Can another person understand what you're saying? Do they get your point? Are they noticing waffle? Are they noticing where you've repeated yourself? And that's how you get better at academic writing. And the other thing to remember is everything you read, all the papers you read, have been through so many different people have looked at that, edited it, tweaked it. No one just writes a paper in one go and it gets published. So everything you read has been through that real kind of fine-tooth comb, really go over it and tweak it many, many, many times. But when you're first starting out and you're writing essays or you're writing reports, you've got to do that. You're on your own. You've got to write it and you've got to tweak it and edit it and check it. And sometimes people are good at the writing part, but perhaps not good at the editing part. Sometimes people run out of time. So a lot of it is just give yourself plenty of time and go through all the stages and get feedback along the way. And you'll notice that it gets easier and you get better at it.
So it's just, the key is just to practice.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect
exactly.
with academic writing, definitely.
Yeah. And it's something that I think some people have said, when I'm at university, I should just be good at this. But, it's something that even professors are still practicing.
Oh, definitely.
It's not something that you are inherently good at or not.
No, definitely. It's definitely something you can, you just need to practice and hopefully get some nice friendly feedback along the way.
And the final one is, a bit of a common question, but how would you advise someone to structure their dissertation? I suppose it kind of ties back to being a bit overwhelmed as well, but...
Yeah, so again, go back to any advice they've given you. So sometimes there's like a handbook or there's some advice or perhaps a session where they kind of talk to you about dissertations. So go back to that advice. I know I was super overwhelmed when I had had to do my undergraduate dissertation. It seemed so big, and this assignment that I've never done before. I mean, suddenly right at the end, they hit you with an assignment type that you've never done before. But actually it is similar to probably things you have done before. So going through the guidance, going through the instructions, hopefully you'll start to see some kind of parallels. If you've written a lab report before, you can write a dissertation. If you've written an essay before, you can definitely write a dissertation. So it's just about going through, work out what they want. And then also, you can also try and find some examples. So you can sometimes ask your supervisor if they've got any examples from previous students. Again, if they say no, but they might have something they can show you. Or, and then you'll find that they have a really consistent sort of structure generally. Again, they're usually like an overgrown lab report. So you've got introduction, usually something about methods, results, discussion. Your department might want some extra sections as well. That'll all be in your guidance. But the essence of it is essentially a research report. So
I like that, an overgrown lab report. I like that. That's a good way of describing a dissertation.
Yeah. And once you've got your sections, you've got your bite-sized chunks then, and you can just chip away at it and give yourself plenty of time. Start early. Do the bits you can do. You'd probably be able to write your introduction, maybe your methods fairly early on. Do what you can. And if you can't do anything, make your title page. It's a great bit of advice that a colleague gave their students is, start your title page and your contents page and your reference list. You can do all of that from day one. And that makes you feel like you've made a start. You haven't got that blank page anymore.
Yeah, and you've got a document.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's really great words of advice. Thank you very much, Beth. And as normal, we're just going to finish the podcast on a little quote, which Beth actually suggested. So this quote is written in a book called Bird by Birds by Anne Lamott. And the quote is, 30 years ago, my older brother, who was 10 years old at the time, was trying to get a report on birds written that had 3 months to write, which was due the next day. We were out at our family cabin in Bolinas, and he was at the kitchen table, close to tears, surrounded by binder paper and pencils and unopened books on birds, immobilized by the hugeness of the task ahead. Then my father sat down beside him, put his arm around my brother's shoulder and said, "Bird by bird, buddy, just take it bird by bird." So thank you, Beth, for being on the podcast, for sharing your words of advice. It's been great to have you.
It's been really fun. Thank you.
This podcast has been produced with Lancaster University's Learning Development Team, which are based at Lancaster University Library. With special thanks to Dr. Louise Innes and Dr. Beth Caldwell for their support for this podcast. I'd also like to thank the other scientific writing mentors who have supported this podcast. The Scientific Writing Centre is a place where any undergraduate student from the Faculty of Science and Technology or the Faculty of Health and Medicine can discuss their scientific writing with a trained postgraduate scientific writing mentor. The Scientific Writing Centre is not a class or a course, it's a one-to-one appointment, which takes place on campus in C130 in the library. Appointments can last up to 45 minutes. To find out more, please go to www.lancaster.ac.uk/library/learn.